Hello everybody, this is my first Kerbal Space Program tutorial. This is going to be how to reach Minmus the easiest way possible. I'm going to try to focus on the main points of how to get there and some tips and tricks. I'm not going to focus on the building of the rocket itself, but just how to use the rocket to get to Minmus and back. And we're going to land. Now, we're going to go over some basic controls real quick. It's important to know your space bar controls your stages. All your stages are listed over here on the left. And so this first stage is my initial engine, so I'm going to press the space bar once to make the little fuel gauges pop up. And at that point I can throttle up. And I do that for every stage. So whenever I say stage, I'm pressing the space bar. Whenever I say full throttle, that means press the Z button to give it full throttle. The X button cuts the throttle. Shift brings up the throttle slowly, as long as you hold it, and Control brings it down slowly. W, A, S, and D are steering, and then Q and E are your roll. You can see my roll down here moving. And so for the first part, we're just trying to get in orbit around Kerbin. This rocket goes very fast, or my rocket does, so I can't really explain it while I do it as well. I'm going to just explain it first and then do it. So what we want is a perfectly horizontal orbit around Kerbin, which means we're going to go either left in the 270 direction or right in the 90 direction. So I'm just going to go right directly along this line as I steer. So as I'm going up, I'm going to steer right a little bit. We're just going to go a little bit at a time. Typically a good rule to follow, by the time you're at 150 meters per second right here, you want to be at 70 degrees. And then usually by the time I'm at like 600 meters per second, I'm at 45 degrees over here. And you also want to, another thing is you want to change your view to the map view every so often. So the map view, you toggle by pressing M. The map view shows you where your apoapsis is going to be. And you can change the map view. You can look around on the map view by right clicking. It kind of pans like this by right clicking and holding. Or you can scroll in and out with a mouse wheel. I definitely recommend playing this game with a mouse. It'll make it a lot easier. So what I'm going to do here is going to be two stages. First stage is these boosters. And then the second stage, the booster's going to drop off and it's just the center engine going. I'm going to have SAS on, and that just helps me steer a little easier, stability assist. And I'm just going to slowly turn as I go up. So that's all we're doing for this first stage. And then at the same time, on this map view, as my apoapsis goes up, my target apoapsis, I want it to be at about 75,000 kilometers. No, sorry, 75,000 meters or 75 kilometers. That's a good orbiting height. And so I want to make sure that my apoapsis doesn't go past that. If it's starting to get really close, I'm going to turn so much that I'm basically facing sideways so that I can start boosting around the planet and I'm not going up anymore. Alright, with all that being said, let me demonstrate. Real quick, let me check that I'm recording. I am recording. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Full throttle. Here we go. I'm starting to turn a little bit pretty quickly because this goes up so fast. I'm at 150, so I want to be at 70 degrees at 150 meters per second. I'm going to keep turning a little bit. I'm actually going to bring my throttle down a little bit because it's just going up so fast. I want it to be controllable. I'm going to watch this. See, my apoapsis is already up at 20,000. By now I want to be at full 45 degrees. It's going up pretty fast. At this point I'm going like half sideways, half up. So it's still going up fairly fast, but it's also going sideways fast, which means I'm starting to get into more of an orbit. I'm going to keep turning sideways. Also, this is at 0%, so I can drop my boosters. Now I'm lighter. Alright, we're up to 60,000 meters. So I'm almost to my max height. Um, so I'm actually going to cut right here. I'm going to cut the fuel. Um, and so this is kind of close to the orbiting height I want. I'm going to do a little more. There, 75,000. Alright, so now I'm slowly going up toward, wait a minute, there we are. Slowly going up to 75,000, and at this point, I just want to start burning sideways to get this to start going around Kerbin. So the most efficient place to do it would be at the top, but I don't want to start burning like perfectly at the top because that'll be too late. I'll probably start right around here. Yeah, I'm gonna just let it go a little ways. This is the time warping thing. It's very useful. So like I can do ×4 speed. You can only do up to ×4 when you're below 70,000 meters. So I am at 67, so I'm close. Once we get past that, you can time warp a lot faster. Actually, gonna time warp just a little bit. Alright, now I'm in space. I'm past 70,000. Stop! Stop! Okay, that almost messed up. Now I'm gonna go ahead and boost again. Slowly bring it up. I'm gonna steer to prograde, so I'm burning completely sideways, and you can tell that because the orange side is and the blue side are meeting right here. And now I'm just bringing myself into orbit. I time warped too far, so this isn't quite ideal, but I'm kind of late. I'm already past that apoapsis, but it should be fine because the rocket's so fast. I'm gonna go down a little bit. I don't want to keep going up. Okay. That's some kind of orbit. I'm gonna keep going up just a little bit to bring this periapsis up. Okay, there. Alright, so now my orbit is not circular, but I want to circularize it. Both sides are above 70,000 meters, which means I'll be in space the whole time, so that's good. But in order to get this side to be less, because it's at 600,000 meters, I need to go burn retrograde on this side, which means slow down on this side so that this side goes down. I'm already kind of too late to do that because I'm already past the periapsis. So I'm actually just going to time warp around Kerbin. Again, this isn't ideal. I kind of messed up by time warping too far, but it's okay. Alright, I'm gonna stop the time warp here. All I'm gonna do, I want to burn retrograde. I'm actually gonna click the retrograde button. So, by the way, if you have SAS on, these are all the different things that it helps you to target. So, stability assist just helps you in general with stability, depending on where you're steering. But if you click on one of the other things, it actually automatically targets it for you. Prograde means burning in the direction that you're going. Retrograde is the opposite direction. If you burn retrograde, it means it slows you down. And so, whichever side of the orbit you're on, if you burn retrograde, it slows you down and it brings the opposite side toward you. If you burn prograde, it speeds you up and it brings the opposite side further out. And so that means that whenever you do a maneuver, Like, let's say I want to bring my apoapsis, my height, as far as possible. I need to do that maneuver on the opposite side from where I want to be high. That sounded weird. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to time warp just a little bit. If you click on a spot on your orbit and click warp here, like I just did, and it kind of auto warps you. And I'm just going to go ahead and start burning retrograde. I'm just going to kind of throttle it a little bit. Okay, we can see that it dipped down below 70,000, which means that I have to go back to the ×4 time warp. That's okay. Alright. There we go. 78, perfect. So now I have 67, 78. I really want the periapsis to be above 70,000, so that I'm technically in space, because right now I'm slightly in the atmosphere. So I'm going to just click on the apoapsis, click warp here. Oh wait, I can't because I'm still not in space. I'm still under 70,000. So it's going to warp slowly. So I'm just going to manually control this warp ×4. See, even getting in orbit's tough. I'm kind of just messing it up. If I hover over myself, I can also see my altitude. I'm at 67,000 meters. I'm slowly rising though. Once I get past 70,000, I can auto warp over here and bring this periapsis up just a little bit. Because again, you adjust the apoapsis from the opposite side at the periapsis. You adjust the periapsis from the opposite side at the apoapsis. I can also just burn radial out, which is just going to bring my entire orbit away from Kerbin. I could just do that. Let's try that. That did not work. Okay, I won't try that again. Alright, sounds like we're about back in space because the music changed. Yes, we are. I'm going to auto warp to the apoapsis. Well, first, I'm going to face retrograde. And then I'll just warp like right before the apoapsis. Okay, cool. We're gonna burn. That's the wrong way. We want to burn prograde. Ah, man, this is a mess. Okay, I just burnt out my engines. Great. We'll destage. Stage again. Stage again so I see my fuel. Face prograde. And now... boom. Okay, we're officially in space on both sides. At this point I'm going to call it. We're not circularized, but we are in space on both sides, and it's still only 100,000 meters, so that's good enough. So I wasted a lot of fuel messing up on the orbit, and then I had to destage because I used up all my initial stages, but that's okay. Now I have basically like the mid tier of my rocket. So this is my main engine that will get me to Minmus, and then it'll get me to Minmus. It'll probably start to slow me down into a circularized orbit around Minmus, and then I'll stage again, and this last engine right here will be what I use to land and then get back. Okay, now to get to Minmus, let's look at a perfectly horizontal view real quick. So if you look at the Mun is on a plane perfectly horizontal with the equator of Kerbin. So it's like that. It has a inclination of 0. Minmus does not. Minmus has an inclination of 6 degrees. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out. There's Minmus right there. I'm going to click on Minmus. That's a left click. I'm going to set it as target. And it shows me the line of nodes. The line of nodes is where the plane that Kerbin's equator is on. It's the same plane that the Mun is on. It's this flat surface going across, if you can imagine like a table. That's where that surface intersects this slanted surface that Minmus is orbiting on. And you can see that. Like, if you look at it from the side, you can see that the two orbits kind of intersect right here along this line. And so that's what the line of nodes is. And basically what you want to do, we want our orbit, we want our inclination to match Minmus's inclination. And that means that we need to burn normal or anti-normal whenever we are at the line of nodes. The reason we do it at the line of nodes is because anti-normal and normal change your inclination, and you want to do this at the line of nodes so that it's changing the inclination the same way that Minmus is. If you just do it over here somewhere, then you're going to end up with a slanted line like this, you know? If you do it right here, you're going to slant it just like Minmus. I'll try to demonstrate that. So now we're going to do what I call, not what I call, but what is a maneuver node. So if you click on a spot on your orbit, you can add a maneuver. Real quick, just a helpful thing. Sometimes it's easy to not figure out which direction you're actually going. Like you may think you're going this way and want to add a maneuver right here. The way to tell, the line behind you is always brighter looking than in front of you. So the direction that you're going is towards the dimmer part of the orbit. Just a helpful point. Alright, so I'm going to add a maneuver at the ascending node along my line of nodes. Now the maneuver shows all the little controls that I can give it, just like the controls that are shown on the nav ball here. The pink ones are the normal and anti-normal. That's what changes our inclination. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually zoom out and try to get that sideways view along the line of nodes like we had. And it's kind of tough to get it perfect, but that's pretty close. I accidentally right-clicked on the maneuver. Alright, so this stuff kind of jumbles up, but you can still see my maneuver here. I'm going to pull the pink one up a little bit. And I need to be able to see what it's doing to my orbit. So you can see when I'm zoomed out, the yellow orbit is Minmus. So I'm going to zoom in again. I'm keeping an eye on that yellow orbit. This little dotted orange line is how this maneuver node is changing my orbit. It's actually it's actually turning it in the wrong direction. I don't want to do that, so I'm actually going to pull it the opposite way and see how it slants it just like Minmus is. So I'm just going to adjust it until the slanting is about the same as Minmus's slanting. And that looks pretty close right there. One way to tell, the ultimate way to tell actually, your line of nodes will change as you change your inclination. So as soon as, like I'm pulling it down like this. This is my line of nodes. The AN and the DN right here. If I pull it up, there's a point where the AN and the DN are going to flip around like that really fast. That is the point where they flip. That's where my plane is almost the same as Minmus's plane. So I'm going to do it like whenever they're facing sideways, like that. That's pretty much as close as I can get it. Alright, there's my maneuver. If you just click on the maneuver, it reopens it. If you right click on the center of it, it does this little screen where you can add an orbit to it, like a full orbit. And then if you right click again, it goes back to this screen. If you left click out of it, it still shows it, but you're not editing it anymore. Right here, it shows how much delta V the maneuver will use. As you burn, this is going to kind of go down, almost like a gas tank light, or indicator rather. This right here shows how long until you get to the burn, T minus 1 minute. The burn time is going to be 7 seconds. So the maneuver is assuming that I'm burning all at once and instantaneous. But since it's going to take 7 seconds, I want it to be kind of averaged. So I want like half of the burn to be before the center of that 7 seconds and half to be after the center of the 7 seconds, if that makes sense. So basically, when this says T minus 0, I need to have burned 3.5 seconds already. And then I burn another 3.5 seconds after it says T minus 0. I hope that makes sense. Another thing, when I have this maneuver, a new thing pops up down here with the SAS, that is the maneuver button. I'm going to click on it. My ship will automatically target this blue icon, which is the maneuver icon. And it's kind of nice. I always use that whenever I do a maneuver. I let it fully target it, and then I usually time warp. Right here would be a good spot to quick save. Let's do 2 Minmus. Alright. We're getting close. Once it gets to like 4 seconds, I'll go ahead and start the burn. Again, the burn, my staging is already activated. I can see my fuel tank here. I'm just going to press Z to start the burn at full throttle. You can see this is going down. Once it starts getting close, I'm going to cut it. I'm just feather it a little bit. And do shift to do a little bit. I want this to be as close to 0 as possible. Okay. That should be good right there. I'm going to click check. Boom. And you can see my line of nodes is now like, it's still completely sideways compared to what it was. So I'm very close to the same orbital plane as Minmus. Okay, next part. We've gotten into orbit. We have changed our orbit to be the same inclination as Minmus. Now we have to get to Minmus. This is actually my favorite part. So again, with the orbital bodies, you can tell which way they're going by the brighter side is behind them and the dimmer side's in front of them. So Minmus is going counterclockwise like so. We want to hit Minmus probably around right here because we're going to start burning we're going to do the burn, and then the rocket's going to be sort of going this way. And as it's going, Minmus is going to kind of swing around. So somewhere in this range is where we want to hit it. So opposite right here is where I'm going to put my maneuver. I'm going to click on my orbit, add maneuver, and I'm going to burn prograde. Because again, whenever you burn prograde on one side of the orbit, the opposite side of the orbit extends like that. You burn retrograde, it pulls it in. And I can experiment with this as much as I like with the maneuver node because it's not actually changing how my ship is moving. This is just planning it out. As you can see, I got it to where the apoapsis is about in the range of where Minmus is going to be. And you can see like these little gray marks appear and it shows the closest approach. These are pretty close together, which means I'll be relatively close. Technically, it means that my ship will be right here when Minmus is right here. That's not quite close enough. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in real good on this maneuver. I'm going to grab with left click the center circle of this maneuver node, and you can drag it around like so. And you can see as I drag it, the gray markers move around a little bit. I'm going to pull it over here to where those gray markers get closer and closer until they finally meet, and you get the little purple marker where it hits Minmus. That's where I'm going to leave it. Now, theoretically, I could just say, okay, there's my maneuver. Let's do it. Let's burn. Let's get to Minmus. Huzzah. Well, the thing is, the periapsis right now is 2 million meters away from Minmus. You're going to have a hard time getting in orbit from that far. So, what I want to do, I could make slight adjustments as I go. So like once I get out to, here or here, I could make some adjustments to change my Minmus periapsis. But I'm going to use more fuel doing that. I want to go ahead and set this maneuver to have me perfectly where I want to be. The problem is that this maneuver is now on the same marker as the periapsis, and I can't click on it. Oh my gosh. This is why they're fixing the UI system in Kerbal Space Program 2. There we go. Alright, I have it activated. So what I want to do here, basically, in order to better see where this periapsis is at, I want to actually set Minmus as my target, or my focus of the view. So I'm going to click on Minmus, I'm going to click Focus View. And you can see now it shows my periapsis what it's going to be at Minmus right next to it. I'm going to go ahead and try to click on my, if it lets me, I'm going to try to click on my maneuver node. Oh man, this could be difficult. I might unfortunately have to do the initial burn as it is and then just immediately do another one to correct this because I'm having a hard time clicking on the maneuver node. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Oh my goodness. Okay, fine. Wait, I just undid it. No! Crud. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, this is a good time to show you how to change your focus. If your focus is on Minmus and you want it to be on your ship again, press the tilde key, which is the one to the left of the number 1, right above tab. And I'm going to have to do that again, but I'll do it quick this time. Alright. Maneuver, add maneuver, pull it out, blah blah blah. There's my little markers. That actually went a little too far. I want to go like that far. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit, grab this circle, drag it. I'm not quite close enough now. The gray markers disappeared. Whoop, there we go. Alright. So I'm going to try to adjust it to where it's fairly close from here, rather than focusing view on Minmus. So I can see that my periapsis is 200 meters. I'm just going to use the scroll wheel. So instead of clicking and dragging these things, you can just like use the scroll wheel to slightly adjust them. I'm going to do that to see if I can bring this periapsis a little closer. Alright, well, good enough. I'm going to change my SAS to maneuver, get ready for the burn. It's T-minus 11 minutes until the burn, so what I'm going to do is just warp to it. You can either do that manually, Or you can click these arrows, which is what I'm going to do. If you get on the maneuver uh, the maneuver icon first and then click warp to maneuver, your ship will follow the maneuver icon while you're warping. That's kind of nice. I'm going to go ahead and warp a little more. Okay, I'm going to do a quick save. To Minmus. Excellent. Alright. T minus 40 seconds. My burn time is 27. Half of 27 is like 13 and a half. So at T minus 14 is when I will start burning full throttle. You can see this starts to go down as I get closer to the target. Here's my current orbit, the blue one, extending out towards the dotted line. Once I get down to like 1 second, I'll start to slow down. Cut it there, I did shift up a little bit, cut, shift, cut, shift, cut. Okay, there we go. It's pretty close. Okay, my thing is kind of spazzing out because I'm really close. I'm just gonna bump it just a little bit so it doesn't do that. Alright. Now you can see if you focus view, you can also double click on Minmus to focus view on it. If I focus view on it, I can see my periapsis is at 300,000 meters. What I want to do is while I'm still close to Kerbin and it costs a lot less delta V, I want to add a maneuver. So like right there, add maneuver, and I'm just going to use that maneuver node to adjust this periapsis to be close to Minmus while I'm still close to Kerbin. So if I change this by using the scroll wheel so it doesn't go too fast. By the way, if you do like this and mess it up a bunch, you just X out of it. Restart. Click right there, add maneuver. Alright, cool. So I'm just going to scroll down a little bit because I want to be kind of horizontal with Minmus. I'm going to scroll on the radial out. Usually I just kind of mess around with radial in, radial out, and anti-normal and normal until I get it close. Periapsis is 22,000. I want to go even closer. We're in space. It doesn't have an atmosphere. I can get within like 7,000 of this thing. I can get very close. Perfect. That's where I want to be. It's only cost 16 delta V from right here because I'm still close to Kerbin. You can also see though that the burn time is 0.4 seconds. Because of this, I want to be accurate and I only want to burn a little bit. I could burn slowly, but I don't know exactly how long it would take, how it would affect my burn time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press M, go to my ship view, I'm going to right click on my engine. I'm going to do that thrust limiter like we were talking about. And you can bring it down to like, let's say 21. You can see now my burn time is 1 second. I'm going to bring it down past that. I'm going to bring it to 5. Burn time is now 8 seconds. That's a lot more doable. I'm going to go ahead and use SAS to get to my maneuver button. I need to remember that this engine has a thrust limiter of 5, and I'll change it back later. Go back to map view. I'm going to go ahead and use this button to warp to when I'm going to do the burn. Okay. Cutting it kind of close, but Got it. There we go. Nailed it. So if you didn't notice what I did there, I had full throttle until it got to a little under 1 second left in the burn. Then I cut it. Then I pressed shift. I shifted up a little bit and then cut it and shifted and cut it. And then when I got really close, I just shifted a bit more and got it. Got the periapsis within 8,000 meters. That's perfect. Alright, so at this point, we still have our view focused on Minmus, so this makes maneuver nodes really easy. Since my trajectory is already putting me right here, I'm going to go ahead and add a maneuver right there. So at this point, we've done our trans-injection orbit, so we're going towards Minmus. Now we have to circularize our orbit around Minmus, because right now we have a parabolic orbit that just slings us off. What you got to do that is slow down. So I'm going to burn retrograde. You can see my apoapsis appears. I'm going to pull it just a little more. It's going down, 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 down. Whoop. As soon as they start to flip, that's when I get pretty much equal. Now they're both about 8,000. That's perfect right there. You want that maneuver node right at your periapsis. And again, we're going to burn halfway before it and halfway after it. You can see that the burn time is 1 minute 24 seconds. That's because I still have this thrust limiter on. Let's give it full thrust. Now it's 4 seconds. Okay, maybe not full thrust. I like to work with a little more than 4 seconds. Let's do 8 seconds at half thrust. Perfect. The node is in 6 days. So I can either sit here and wait 6 days, or I can go ahead and put it on my maneuver icon and warp. Which is exactly what I'm going to do. There's a maneuver icon. Do my warp. There's beautiful Minmus. Looks like mint ice cream. There's the Slamma Jamma. Quick note. See that little icon right there that I'm about to hit? So that blue orbit that I was on brings me into... Let me press tilde. There. Now I'm focusing on my ship. That blue orbit brings me into this little icon right here, which is my Minmus encounter. That is when I first hit the sphere of influence of Minmus, and the game switches you from Kerbin's sphere of influence to Minmus's. At that point, if I'm doing a time warp, it will automatically stop when it makes that change. But then it restarts. Now it's going into my Minmus time warp. Slows down right before it. Perfect. If I switch the screen, you can see Minmus right there. I'm actually very close to it. I know that 8,000 though is past its max height, so I should be good. But like I could legitimately just burn just a little tiny bit and land on that mountain. So that's kind of cool. Alright, my burn time's getting close. I'm going to go ahead and do a save. To Minmus SA. Alright. Now, to slow down, again, we're burning retrograde, so you can see my ship's facing backwards. And honestly, whenever I play this game, most of my time is spent in the map screen, which is kind of sad, but I don't actually get to see my ship a whole lot and their smiling faces. Now, we're at T-minus 16, the burn time is 8 seconds, so when it gets to 4, that's when I'll start burning, and it'll do 4 before it and 4 after. Ready, and I press the Z key. Alright, I'm gonna watch as my orbit changes. When it gets really close, I'm gonna start buffering it, and then I'm gonna shift. Perfect. So again, you press full throttle. When it gets to under 1 second, you cut the throttle, Then you just bump Z and X a couple times to get it down close. And then once it's like really close, I like to press Shift just a little bit and then cut it and do that a couple times until it gets to like within 0.5 meters per second of the target. And you can see perfectly executed maneuver. I'm getting better from when we started this video. The orbit of Kerbin wasn't very good, but it's a lot easier to work with when you're out here. I dislike getting in orbit of Kerbin. Minmus and other planet orbits are a lot more fun. Alright, now that we're in a stable orbit around Minmus, we can take a breather, maybe get a snack. I would do a game save. Always do a game save right before your major burns. Just in case you mess it up. So what I would suggest is that you want to land on the bright side of it so you can actually see what you're doing. So in order to land on the right side, I'm going to just slow down until basically the part where my orbit intersects Minmus is on this side. There's not a whole lot to it. So I'm going to go retrograde. I'm going to burn full throttle. Whoa, that went fast. That went way too fast. Let me go prograde. I underestimated the power of my engines. Okay. I guess I better throttle it a little better. No, I'm gonna do Shift X. Okay, there we go. We're hitting Minmus at that point, but I'll go ahead and bring it down a little more. There we go. I kind of want to land, if I land like right there on that bump, I kind of want to land on top of that bump so it's flat. That's what I'll do. So I'm going to bring it up just a little more. You don't really have to do all the stuff that I'm doing. I'm just kind of goofing around. I'm just trying to get my landing spot pretty nice. And I'm just alternating between prograde and retrograde to adjust it. But I want this line to be intersecting the bump right here. There we go, perfect. I'll call it at that. Now, I'm on the, I can't think of words. I'm on my way to land to Minmus. The way my ship is, the landing gear, which I have folded up, is up here underneath this top engine, or above this top engine. So I want to go ahead and drop this engine that's helped me with the mid stage. So I'm going to press the space bar to stage. Ta-da! Okay. Now for whatever reason, the parachute is on the same stage as my next engines, and when I fire the next engines, I don't really want the parachute to deploy yet. So you can actually adjust your stages mid-flight. I'm gonna press the plus button. I'm gonna drag this engine stage down to here. I'm gonna activate it. There we go. Now I am ready to basically slowly come down on Minmus by activating the engine. I'm going to go ahead and open up my landing struts. You can right click on them, extend. Perfect. I'm going to warp to like right here. Cool, cool. I'm still on the dark side of Minmus. But I'm starting to see light, so that's good. Also, I just almost hit that. Hold up. I need to burn radial out. I'm too low. Okay, there we go. Okay, so at this point I want to go retrograde to slow down. Probably once I get past this bump right here. I'm gonna warp up to here so that I can see what I'm doing and it's bright. What just blew up? Oh, I think that was my other stage that I dropped off. Goodbye. Alright, now we're ready to land. So at this point, this is my orbital speed. This is how fast I'm going around the planet. If I click it, it changes to my surface speed. And those are the two things that I'm going to be watching as I'm landing. Another thing, if you click to surface, it changes what your retrograde is. Your retrograde becomes retrograde in reference to Minmus and the surface of Minmus. So as I get closer, I want to change it to surface so that I'm burning opposite the surface of Minmus, and I'm always facing with my engine straight down away from Minmus. That'll make sense in a minute. So first, I'm going to change it to orbit. I'm going to burn retrograde. That will start to slow me down. This is a good spot to land as any, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it pretty much to 0. I wouldn't normally do this for like the Mun. You'd want to like slowly slow down. But since Minmus has so little gravity, it's easy to land on, so I just want to come to basically a dead stop. I'm actually going to go ahead and time warp. At this point, you probably want to do a quick save. I'm going to call it crashing. Again, Minmus's gravity is so low, I'm kind of just skipping by a lot of this stuff. See how slowly I'm really falling? I'll go ahead and burn a little bit. Time warp. Alright, now at this point, what I want to do, switch to surface. I'm going to turn on my burn a little bit with shift. I want to do it until I get like probably less than 5 meters per second. Like that. If you hit the ground with less than 5 meters per second, you should be fine. I'm gonna let it fall a little bit, but then I'm gonna bring it back down to less than 5 meters per second. Shift. I keep like looking at this view just to see kind of how close I am to it. Alright, so at this point I'm just going to burn just a little bit so I'm steadily going down. But I'm also not rising. So I have the throttle barely on. So now I'm just kind of steadily falling. And again, I switched to surface, so it's burning retrograde with respect to the surface, which will always keep my lander legs facing, and the engine facing away from the direction that I'm falling. Just gonna make slight adjustments on that. I'm very close now. You can start to see dust fly up on Minmus. Boom! Touchdown. Alright, now that we're there, go Eva. Alright, if I press space, he jumps off. If you turn on the nav ball, press RCS, it activates the jetpack. I'm going to go ahead, plant a flag. Taking screenshots as I'm doing this whole thing. I'm going to call it Slamma Jamma Landa. Okay. Eva report. Take surface sample. I don't get any science in this because this is sandbox mode, but yeah, you want to take a surface sample when you get down to the ground. Now I'm going to turn on our CS. If you press your WASD, all that moves you in different directions, but if you press shift and control, that moves you up and down with the jetpack. You don't want to hold it, by the way. If you start to go a little bit, you will continue going until you start falling again. So I'm just going to do it until I get near the top. And then board with B. Cool. I should have some other science modules on this. Yeah, here they are. Observe. Low gravity. Now, I'm not getting any from this, but usually I would check all of them. I'd go ahead and do the Science Junior, conduct material study. And then if I wanted to do multiple experiments, if you're in science mode and you have a scientist on the crew, just go EVA. Make sure that your science modules are close to the door. Otherwise, he'll have to jet back to them. But basically, the scientist can collect the data and then, like, reset the module so that you can take data again. Like, let's say you want to take data when you're in orbit of Minmus, and then when you take data when you're on the surface, and that'll give you twice as much science. And you can do that with all the experiments. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and get home. This really shouldn't be that hard, but it can be, so don't underestimate it. Basically, I want to have a sideways orbit again, preferably. It doesn't matter really too much when you're just getting home from Minmus, but I'm going to try to make a sideways orbit. And I can see, excuse me, the 90 degrees, the 90 degree line's right here. So that's the direction I'm going to go. I'm going to start slowly going up, maybe slower than that. And I'm going to start going 90 degrees. Actually, I want to go the other way, towards the light side. That way is the dark side. Also, if you press Q, again, you can roll. Q or E. I'm going to roll to where it's facing sideways, like so. I'm going to give it full throttle. It doesn't take much to get into orbit. Go ahead and go to your map view. Whoa. See what I mean? So you just want to bring your apoapsis up to like where it was before. Yeah, that'd be good. 11,000. So, now we want to burn sideways. So that we get in orbit. I'm going to turn on stability assist instead of retrograde. And burn sideways. So, we got to go the other sideways. Probably go ahead and warp up to like here. I'm just trying to get into a steady orbit again. See how your apoapsis, if you burn while you're still too low, your apoapsis continues to grow, even if you're burning sideways. So I'm going to continue to warp up to the apoapsis when I'm doing these maneuvers. Which way is down? This way is down. Okay, cool. I might burn down a little bit as well. I'm higher than I want to be. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm in a nice little circular orbit around Minmus. I don't want to just burn some random direction off of Minmus. I really want to get in an orbit so I can plan out my next trajectory path, because that's going to be important in order to get home the easiest possible way. That's what we're going to want to do. Alright, last leg of the mission. So whenever you're coming off of the Mun or Minmus, you want to actually burn on like the side opposite, on the side towards Kerbin. And it's going to extend your orbit out this way, but it's going to actually make you to where you don't slingshot off like into orbit of the sun. It's going to make you to where you actually come in slower. If you burn on this side so that your orbit slings out this way, you could go slinging off. So I'm going to make a maneuver right here. Pull this out. Just enough to escape Minmus's gravity. That's literally all I need. Like that. Now you can see what the Kerbin orbit's going to be. So now I'm going to grab the circle like I did before and just drag it around until that periapsis gets closer to Kerbin. As close to Kerbin as possible. Should be good right there. Burn time is 2 seconds. I'll just leave it at 2. I'm not going to be super picky with this one. It only uses 60 meters per second. Go ahead and warp to it. Okay, I didn't really warp as far as I'd like. Again, you probably want to save your game at this point in case you warp too far or you mess up the maneuver. I'm gonna live dangerously this once. Good enough. There. Alright. So if you saw, I still had, my trajectory was still orbit of Minmus. I went just a little further so that it went into the orbit of Kerbin. Now I'm going to go ahead and time warp a little ways. Actually, but before I time warp too far while I'm still relatively close to the surface, I want to add another maneuver that will cause me to get this periapsis closer to Kerbin. Actually, no, never mind. I want to do it at the apoapsis, so right here I'll add a maneuver. Again, you always want to do a maneuver the opposite side of the one you want to adjust. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to go retrograde. And that actually puts me in a moon encounter. That's interesting. A Mun encounter, I mean. Oh, that's confusing me. Stupid Mun. Hang on. There we go. Bringing that Kerbin periapsis down. I want it to go down to like under 70,000. 68. I can go further than that. Let's go, I'm actually going to live dangerously. I'm going to go to like 45. I'm going to use my scroll wheel to make slighter adjustments on this. Cool. That'll be good right there. My periapsis is now going to interact with Kerbin's atmosphere, and I will safely come down with my heat shield. I'm going to go ahead and time warp. Oh, that's further than I thought. I have to go all the way around. I'm actually going to do this one myself. Okay. Let me do a save real quick. Heading home. Alright. Let's go ahead and warp. Cool, cool. We'll warp a little more manually. Okay. I guess like 4.5 seconds I go. Oh wait, forgot to move the maneuver. There we go. Cool. Close enough. Periapsis. Actually, let's go a little further. I'm still facing the same direction, so I know that I'm still going to do the same thing if I adjust my maneuver. There we go. Now I'm below 50,000 meters, so that should be enough to land immediately instead of slinging off and having to come back around. Hey, there's an asteroid. Alright, at this point, I want to make sure, before I choose, like, right here to time warp to, I want to figure out which direction I'm going. Because you can accidentally time warp to the opposite side of the orbit and you will crash into Kerbin. So, again, the dimmer side is the direction that I'm going. The brighter side is the one that I'm on. So I'm going counterclockwise. So I want to auto warp to like here. Okay. At this point I can go ahead and throw off my next stage. Wait. Oh, apparently I forgot to add a decoupler there. That's a problem. Okay, well it looks like I'm landing with the engine attached. Interesting. Well, since I'm going to be kind of heavy with this parachute, might be a little too heavy for this parachute, I want to make sure I'm coming down in the ocean. So, let's take a look at where we're landing. Yeah, so this is a periapsis. It's going to start coming down a lot, and it should land somewhere right around here. So it should be in the ocean. There's ocean along most of that path. You can tell, like along that entire path it's ocean, so we should be good. Just the same, I'll burn retrograde just a little bit, slow down, make sure I end up in the ocean. That may be too much. We'll see. I'm too tired to care. We're just gonna try it. As soon as we get out of space, it'll cancel the auto warp because we'll hit 70,000 meters. Yeah, so this has a heat shield, but it's underneath this engine that I didn't add a decoupler to. So this is probably gonna blow up. We will see. Times 4 speed. Let's just give it all we got, Captain. Wait. Okay, we're good. I went ahead and went back to times 1 speed because times 4 speed is a little more violent. Looks like just the landing gear blew up. I think we're gonna be good. Okay, the engine blew up, but we're still good. We're indestructible. Deploy the parachute. I'm a genius. I'm so good at this game. I just survived with an engine blowing up underneath me. Also, before you hit the water, you definitely want to cancel the auto warp because the physics get weird when you're warping, and sometimes you hit the ground too hard. I'm going to warp for this part though, because it's very slow. Yay! We did it. That took way too long, y'all. Recover vessel. Cool.